The pen is the tool of the journalist. This show is called Pens Down because this is the only show that turns the news reporters and the news presenters into newsmakers. Here, we put the CCTV camera behind the scenes and we let you into the inner workings of journalists. There are stories the storytellers must tell, but who is going to bear the brunt of bringing them to the world? The program is Pens Down. It's a one agenda program, journalism journeys. That's what we talk here. Today we are traveling to the world's most populated Black country, Nigeria. And we have the company of a colleague who is a seasoned multimedia journalist and also a health advocate. Obviously, through the power of the media, she's, taking the issue of health education to the doorsteps of the ordinary people. Her full profile will be shown to you on the screen while we go ahead with this conversation. My guest on Pens Down today is Damilola Fajinmi. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Wonderful. Some people got into journalism by accident. For some, is the realization of childhood ambitions. There are also others who are in between. What is your own story?
Well, my story should be childhood ambition because growing up, I had a father that was really particular about watching the news. So every time he's always saying, Dammy, come and see the news, come and see what is going on in the news. So every time I would just, always watch the news, watch the, different programs. But the 10 o'clock news, it was a big deal in my house. So, and, just from there, then, I'll be ask little children, what do you want to become when you grow up? And everybody goes, doctor, lawyer. And I'm like, no, I want to be a newscaster. And so that was just it. It was later that I now realized that, okay, for me to be a newscaster, I had to do this, I had to study this or study that. So it's just been something that I always wanted to do as a young girl. Yeah.
How many years has it been since you've been at it? Communications generally and journalism specifically?
Over 8 years now. More than 8 years now that I've been, maybe sometimes in front of the camera or in front of the microphone or at the back of the microphone, doing behind the scenes work. But either way, I've always just been around communications, behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, and just around communication.
Right. Now, these 8 years you have been in journalism, a lot of our colleagues, seniors, and even subordinates have abandoned the craft. Some of them have found themselves in public relations, corporate communications, and any kind of sector where they feel they can have a space. Attrition in the field of journalism. We are losing quality. We are losing professionals. What do you think is accounting for this?
Well, if we are being sincere with ourselves, we know that journalism is not a job that you do, a career that you embark upon if you're trying to make a lot of money. And, Maslow's hierarchy, you're trying to survive first. So if you look at it, it's not something. I believe that journalism is a calling, and broadcasting, it's a step further. But in my opinion, I think why we're losing quite a number of people is it's not lucrative enough. Then the opportunities, especially for women, my gender, when you get to a certain age, you start to think about raising a family, having your children and all of that. It's not easy. Combine the rigors of being a journalist, a reporter, a broadcaster with raising a family. So that's why it seems as if more and more women are, opting out, to go into other fields that they feel like might be friendly or friendlier, to raising a family. But then I can still say confidently that we still have, quite a number of women, still, pushing ahead, even with the circumstance of trying to raise a family or, getting older in age and all of that.
These 8 years or almost a decade you've been around, social media has swept across the length and breadth of journalism. redefining things and reorganizing things at its own will. How much has social media redefined the frontiers of journalism from where you sit?
Oh, ooh, social media came and it just did a lot of things. You had to, adapt or die.
Mm,
Is that so? You had to adapt or die. And we saw quite a number of people that had the first movers advantage, and it's working for them. They didn't
mm,
I remember when social media came. So I did communication, I did mass communication for my first
mm,
degree.
yeah.
And I just used to feel like, who are all these bloggers? Who are all these ones? They just came that they don't just give respect to this work of journalism for people like us, that are trained professionals that had to go and study for this. That. So I really look down on them, I must
Mm,
confess. But one thing that I've come to realize is some of our colleagues that got on with the program and
mm,
got on with social media to adapt social media into the work that they are doing. We see a lot of them, and we see the kind of work that they are doing. And after a while, you just knew that you don't have a choice. It's either
mm,
you get on it, and your how do I put that? Your professionalism will shine
mm,
through,
yeah.
even with the fact that this is the newest thing on the block. So
Mm,
that's what I feel like a lot of journalists, some of the journalists are still, fighting against that. And the
mm.
newest kid on the block now is AI. Is AI going to, replace journalists?
That's right.
So that's the newest kid on the block.
Right.
But I always say that as much as possible, try and unlearn some of the old things that you have
Mm,
always
mm,
known. Be open to newer things and find how you can marry both, how you can marry technology
mm,
with what you have done over the years, because the truth of the matter is technology has come to make our work easier. I don't know
mm,
where you are in the world, but where I am in the world, but we're having this all because of technology. So, as much as possible, social media is not coming to take our jobs. Social media is not coming to replace us.
mm,
Rather, as a professional, as an experienced person, social media will just highlight the professionalism that is already on your inside. So you see
mm,
it as something you would definitely be able to stand out the professionals from the crew. So I
mm.
don't think social media is coming to chase us out of the game.
I engaged one of the respected journalists in Africa, Mr. Lekon Tufodori, on this program. And one of the points he made, which for me stuck out, is that journalists somehow lived in self-denial, that social media, like the high five and those other things, were going to go. So we decided to wait and see. Now, that brings me to my next question. Social media has created richer bloggers in Africa than richer journalists.
Yes.
Where did we sleep? How did we allow scarcely trained people in the use of media tools to exact the financial benefit of social media to themselves while we stood aloof? What happened?
Hmm. That's a very, that's a great question. And
Mm,
I alluded to it earlier that,
mm,
when social media came, we we were discriminate not okay, maybe if I say discriminative, that would be a big word.
mm,
We just sort of looked down on it and he said, "Oh, these
yeah.
ones are not the serious people, they're not the serious people." And because of that, we did not unearth what
Mm,
social media was bringing to the table. And
mm,
the so-called crooks in our books,
mm,
they had the first movers advantage, and they took the bull by the horn, and they were learning,
yeah.
iterating. Some, did a few courses here and there, got better at it. But we that had the courses, we that had the skills, we just felt like, oh, this is not something for me. So it just goes back to say that it's a point of call really for
Mm,
journalists, communicators, that we should not neglect technology because more things are coming. More
mm,
things are coming. Rather, how can you as a professional, make the best of what technology has to offer, and marry it with your wealth of experience to ensure that we continually push out, great products, continually push out authentic work that can that can stand the test of time, and you don't have to deal with all this disinformation, misinformation, and all of that. And we are the ones that are pushing the agenda, just like what media is all about. As the fourth estate, we are the ones setting the agenda for the government, setting the agenda for the government, setting the agenda for the society as because we are learned, and so that's what I feel about social media and journalism and communication, is that, see, we can't run away from it. It is here to stay. So it's better you get on the program and get right on it. If not, we will still be having a repeat of what happened the first time when we didn't move.
Is there any assignment these 8 years that you will stick out as your most challenging? Any assignment?
Ooh, okay. I have quite a number of them, but I would think that it was my introduction to solution journalism.
Okay.
So, you've just been doing journalism. I didn't really do so much, but when I was going to do like my first solution journalism story, he pushed me out of what I have known, because I had to, start looking at it from the tenants. You know how we have always been used to the 5 Ws and age, but
That's
now
right.
with solution journalism, it's coming and it's shaking everything, and you have to answer the answer. You have to, your story has to answer those 4 tenants, and then I'm like, right. What's going on? What's going on? And yeah. And you're trying and you're chasing your sources that you guys have sorted things out, everything is going smooth. All of a sudden your source just decide not to talk to you, and you're like, what do I do? And there's a deadline knocking on your door that you've given your word, you've done everything. So I feel like that was for me a challenging one, but I'm glad that I was able to overcome that. Another experience would be when I was going to cover the last elections.
Okay.
And I had to do something that I had never done before. So usually I'm used to, going out to report and, cover the story, just be foot on ground. That one, you're enjoying yourself. It's pretty cool and all that. Then and my PD tells me that, oh, Dami, you are not going out this period, though. You will have to be in the studio to, man everything in the studio. And I was like, what? Only me in the studio? How am I going to do it? And he was like, Dami, you have to do it. You can do it. I believe in you. And I was just like I understand, I know that I can do like politics and all of that, but it's not like just like my health beats that I'm, I'm more comfortable with. So it just meant that I had to do more, I had to speak more, I had to research more and all of that. So it drew me and it really stretched me. But I look back now and I'm glad that they threw that challenge my way and I was able to meet up with it, and I saw that I could do more than what I was presenting. I could do more than what I was bringing to the table. But because I had a challenge like that, I didn't know the extent of my capacity. So one thing I would say to maybe younger journalists is every assignment that is brought your way, it's not as if anybody's trying to reach out to you or the person does not like you or any of that. Just take it as, this is a learning curve for me. It's a learning opportunity. What do I have to learn on this? And how can I make it, better for me? So that would be it.
Right. On the back of what you said in respect of in trying to answer the question about attrition, you drop snippets of what looks like an answer to my next question, but I'll still want to ask.
Okay.
It's been 8 years. You are here. You've seen a lot. Some have gone. Some may have returned. Some have abandoned the craft altogether. Does journalism pay? Does it pay?
No, it doesn't. But then, like a more experienced colleague once said, he said that it depends on the kind of journalism that you are practicing. if you are still practicing the kind of journalism that you're pushing paper, you're running from this, running from that, it's still the basic kind of journalism. But it depends on the kind of journalism that you are facing. And it still goes back to say you have to, you can't just stick with what you've learned in maybe the school of journalism or for your first degree. You always have to build yourself. You always have to build yourself. You have to retrain yourself. What are the newest things on the block? What are the newest things? What are the industry standards now? How do I level up? How do I get better? How do I do better? You can't be like the local champion, especially when it comes to journalism, because there are lots of opportunities, lots and lots of opportunities. But if you do not put yourself out, you do not put yourself in, like you're not open to learning about new things. And it's not about learning from people that are older. I went for a training once, and I met really young people that were in their final year in university, and they had lots of bylines. And I was asking myself, if a final year journalism student has this much byline, what will happen if this person now spends 2, 3, 4 years down the line? It shows to say that they are going out, they are learning, they are unlearning, they are pushing themselves out. But some of us that a bit older in the career, we just feel like being there, done that. But what I would like to say is, don't have this being there, done that mentality. Be open. Don't have this mindset that, oh, Gen Zs, they don't have anything to bring to the table. My dear, there are a lot of things that they know, and you can learn from them.
Yes.
It's the truth. There are a lot of things that they know, and you can learn from them. So it's just about unlearning some of the old things, because the thing is, things are not going back to how they used to be. Things are going to change. So things are changing. The most important thing is that you are not swept by the tides of time. The most important thing is you can move with time, and you are still an authority irrespective of what is going on around you.
Right. Let me put you on the spot. This is a personal question. In the line of duty, have you ever been approached with anything monetary or material, and then the bait is compromise the details of this story you are doing, or completely trash the story and take this? Bribery.
Well, I would say I have not been, but there's sometimes when some assignments will require those kind of favors. So it now depends on you to know if this is something you want to pursue, or if it's not something you want to pursue. But I have the liberty to say, okay, I'm not going to pursue this story, or I'm not going to go in this direction. But for people that do not have that kind of liberty, it all depends on you. You have to decide, do I want to do I want to get payments for this? But then I don't want us to also forget that a lot of media companies don't pay. They don't pay well. A lot of media companies, we know the stories that they just probably give you an ID card and they just tell you that's all. There's no remuneration for the kind of job that you are doing. So how do you expect such a person not to compromise when it comes to feeding? It still goes back to that Maslow's hierarchy. Survival is something that is topmost at that kind of person's mind. So the balance comes with the media company owners and the media giants, ensuring that they give the right remuneration to journalists. That way, the person is equipped and emboldened to be able to say no. But you can't tell somebody that is hungry or has bills to pay not to compromise. Do you understand? Then another thing is, as journalists, you have to have multiple streams of income. You have to have multiple streams of income. You begin to ask yourself, and that's where training comes in. The more exposed you are to newer things, you know that, okay, there are other things beyond what I am doing that I can do to bring other ways of making money. So when you have other ways of making money, the temptation to compromise is reduced drastically. You keep yourself from being tempted to compromise. But when you don't have other ways to keep yourself or safeguard yourself from those temptations, there's really nothing you can do about it. So yes, I have been approached, but then I told myself that this story is not what this kind of thing that they're bringing my way. So I said no to the story, and I did something else. But not
Let me
everybody's that lucky.
let me play the devil's advocate. If the story were worth how much they were bringing, would you have fallen for the bait?
I don't think so. I have my name. I have my name to think about. I have my name to think about. I have my integrity to think about. All the years of work. That I don't think it's worth it.
Right.
It is not.
You have done 8 years. If we are to go back into time, 10 years, would journalism still be your choice?
I won't lie. I wanted to branch out. I won't lie. But I feel that's the truth. I considered, diversifying into other parts of, communication and all of that. But I feel like still goes back to what I said about retraining myself.
Yes.
So one of the things that has helped me is that with retraining myself, I'm seeing other things that I can do beyond what I currently do and does not hinder what I currently do. So that it sort of exposed me to other opportunities, other ways to stretch myself, other ways to do more things, and I can still do journalism, and it doesn't affect it. Rather, it just works like a fusion. It works in sync with what I'm currently doing. So that's it. So I guess I'll still be around in a couple of more years.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the owner of TVC Television and the Nation newspaper. My next question is, politicians and a lot of politically exposed persons are increasingly owning media outlets. The increasing political ownership of the media, are we caught in trouble? Is there a reason to be worried? Or all is well?
Well, that's a sensitive question. But what I would say as regards to that question is that I want to believe that politicians also know that only media houses can sort of, taint them in ways that they don't want and taint the media house that they own in ways that they don't want. So I'm not privy to their management team, but I believe that there will be a management team that, would be working so hard, because that means they'll have to work extra hard to prove themselves that they are not tilting towards the owner or the politician that owns their company. So there'll be some like sort of checks and balances in place just to be able to, because the court of public opinion is still very much strong, especially in a country like Nigeria. So if you are in the business of media, you still have to consider that. So I believe that such media houses will have such things like that in place, and if they don't, for the future of journalism, for the future of media in Nigeria, things like that need to be put in place just to ensure that there are checks and balances put in place, and you are not setting up a business to fail, because don't forget that media is also a business. So
right. Okay. In Ghana, we call it SOLI, S-O-L-I. That is the shortened form of solidarity. In Nigeria, it has the English name brown envelope. Or in the local parlance, a senior colleague I hosted here told me it is called kwa when it is small. It is called loot when it is big in Nigeria. In Cameroon, it is called either the brown envelope or gombo. I think that's a French version. In Malawi, they call it logistics. Journalists will forever be amazing people. What is your take on it?
Ooh. It's how do I say it? It depends on you as an individual, and it depends on how far you want to go in the media industry. Because the truth of the matter is nothing is hidden. Nothing is hidden. So once you begin to compromise yourself like that, somehow the stories will get out. Somehow things will happen. So if you're looking at doing journalism for a long time, if you're looking at doing this business for a long time, then you should be able to know that you should be able to know what are your no-brainers. You should be able to know that, what are your no tasks. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you know all those things, then you won't have to deal with issues like that. You won't have to deal with problems like that. And it still goes back to, just equipping yourself, sort of empowering yourself as a journalist. If you want to do the business well, if you want to be a media person indeed, then you should be able to, put things around you to just protect you against things like that.
How many more years do you want to go before you walk away from the cameras and the microphones?
Hopefully I can do a few more years. Let's see where God is taking me to.
Put a figure to it.
I mean, maybe another 10, 5 years.
Oh
Hopefully.
dear.
hopefully,
Very well.
I can still put in more years, and hopefully I can also pull back and train younger people. I sort of got newly introduced to it, and I think it's something that I want to push and do some more of it. Fall back, like, this is what I have learned over the years, and this is my way of giving back to the society. My mentor always says that, Damilola, anything you do, ensure that you pay it forward, because all that I am doing, she's also she's also a lady, and she's a journalist in this career, so she's always saying that pay it forward. We are a dying breed. We're a dying breed, so just sort of pay it forward, and just let there be representation of more women and more female journalists, that they are doing the work, that and they're standing the test of time. They're standing through over and over through the years, and people are seeing them, younger ladies are seeing them and saying, okay, I want to be like this, I want to do that. So I feel like I still have a couple of more years to go.
What represents your golden memories, the most abiding memories, these years you have been in journalism?
Well, I think that I'm still very young to say I have golden memories. I'm really, really, really young to say I have golden memories. I'm currently in my years of golden memories. Be that as it may, I think I won't forget, the election period, and the high that comes with it, and preparing for it, and post the election period also. So I think it's something that I won't forget really soon. Then also when I started, I didn't think I was going to go into local languages when I started my journalism career. I thought I was just going to be speaking English throughout. I even thought I was going to majorly do politics. I didn't think that I was going to be like an health advocate or a gender advocate, or do any of those kind of things. But you see, it comes. So that's why I can't say my golden years, because I'm still getting better at it. I'm still iterating. I'm still finding other parts of myself, even in the journey. So that's it.
In the line of duty, has your life come under threat before, or have you been threatened in the line of duty? Potent dangers?
No. No, I'm in Nigeria. No, don't forget that too. but thankfully, I have not. I've been my beat is not required that I do undercover like that.
Yeah.
That's might expose me to that kind of thing. But I feel like with my years of experience too, I've been able to know how to wiggle myself out of what might be a troubling story or a troubling situation or circumstance, as helped by God really. So I don't think I've had to deal with that.
There are calls by colleagues, seniors and juniors alike, that journalists should be licensed. Should journalists be licensed?
Well, I feel like for you to be a journalist, your work has spoken for you. Your work is speaking for you. And what double license do you need anymore than your work? I don't know if you understand my point.
Yeah.
Rather, I would say what we should push for what we should advocate for is that there are more opportunities to unlearn, things that are not at par anymore and learn
Okay.
new things and see how we can infuse that into the profession to ensure to just get it better and get it to world standards, especially in Africa. So I don't think that's something, because we are even in the age of citizen journalists. So I mean, do you want to license the whole world? Do you want to license all the audience that have become your citizen reporter? So I just feel like that's not a direction we should look at. Rather, we should push more and put more effort into getting more opportunities for more newsrooms to have trainings and more trainings, because there's a gap really. There's a gap really. So we should push for that. And also, to journalists that might be listening to me, find ways to don't always wait for your company
Yeah.
or your organization to push you. You should find ways to better yourself to become indispensable. That's one thing I always say to my interns. Find ways to become indispensable or indispensable, as the case may be. Find ways to better yourself even on the job. Don't wait for someone to say, oh, I'm going to approve for you to go for this training somewhere. There are lots of opportunities out there. But if you don't train yourself, how do you want to spot the opportunities when you see them? You won't know them. So that's where training will bridge in the gap. Another thing is, don't fight against technology. Technology is going to bridge the education gap that is currently in journalism. And instead of pushing for licenses, try and find ways to use technology to upgrade your knowledge, to upgrade yourself as a journalist, to ensure that you put out good work every time that you have to.
Health advocacy, that means that through the power of the media, you are sensitizing and educating the public on matters of their health.
Yes.
Vulnerability, when it comes to matters of health, women and children are quite prominent in that category. What is your own approach to health advocacy or health education as far as the media is concerned? Do you pick, let's say, a subject matter and you deal with it, or you touch base with real life situations, and then based on that, you use it as a reference or a case study to educate the public?
Okay, so there's no a one size fits approach, especially when it comes to health advocacy. One of the things that I always consider is my audience, and I consider my audience. I consider if there are outbreaks. I consider what is going on. I try to put myself in the shoe of my audience or the listener, wherever it is that is listening. Like, what kind of things can I solve for this person? Because we understand things are going on in the country, and it seems as if a lot of people are really adverse about going to the hospital because they always try everything possible before getting to the hospital or seeing or speaking with an health professional. So as much as possible, how can I bring the health professionals to them where they are? Because you hear things like, I can't leave my business. If I leave my business, what am I going to eat? To go to the hospital? Why? Or I can't leave my business to be going for antenatal. To go and do what? So when we bring that information that's they will receive there, we can cut out some of the things that might cause problem all the way. And of course, while we are doing the health advocacy, we're always encouraging them, speak with your health professional, don't self-medicate, don't try and do things on your own, always speak to someone. And also, a lot of times people are not even aware of some of the things that are not so far from them, especially what government is doing in the areas of health. So these are information that we bring to them, to their doorstep, while wherever it is that they are, that okay, this is what government is doing, this is what is available. Some people don't know that they have primary health centers close to them, just a few meters away, or the kind of services that they can get at primary health center, just bad information, or third hand information that they've heard from people that they did not verify. That's what they are working with. So with what we do, we bring that information to their doorstep. Sometimes we bring in experts just to let them know that this is the latest in industry or in the world standards about these certain issues. We get to them because many times really, as health advocates, we get to them more and faster than that than even professionals. So it's
Okay.
like a collaborative effort with that, with them, with the professionals and us, just to ensure that the information gets to the people that it ought to get to at the time that it ought to get to them.
How did you settle on health reporting, or the sector called health, as the place you wanted to use the power of the media to amplify the issues for public consumption? There are several others. There is politics, there is finance, there is business, there is sports, a host of them.
Okay, I guess well, I'm not guessing. I sort of stumbled into it,
Okay.
COVID came, I would
Mm,
do a bit of, health stories here and there, but with COVID, there were obviously that we needed to do more. We needed to push more, we needed to do more. So with that, there was more of being intentional about the kind of message that I was passing across. And of course, I also got like a platform to be able to push out some of these things consistently on a weekly basis. So definitely I had to put in the work. I had to put in the work. I had to show up. And for me to show up, I can't just, turn on the microphone and, oh, hi guys. I can't do that. I had to,
yes.
it means that I have to educate myself. And, many of us
That's right.
that are in journalism, we're not so science. So
That's right.
that's where training comes in. That's where training comes in. What thematic areas do I need to look at? What's the most common problem in my community? Because I won't lie to you, more often than not, I start with my community where I'm transmitting from, the station I'm working. So I start with my community. What are the common problems that is in this community? What are the things that we can approach? People just always say government, 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 government. But what can we do before government comes into the picture? What can we do for ourselves? Just with little information, people are just saying. I remember there was one listener that called in once and was like, oh, thank you guys, thank you so much for, the person was speaking in Yoruba. The person was like, thank you so much, because we brought in a doctor, and the doctor, was talking about some things. Thank you so much for this thing really really helped me. I didn't know. I remember another episode, another show that I did once, and the doctor was telling people about things, and I'm like, we were not aware of this. Sometimes we have guests or audiences sending questions anonymously because they are not comfortable enough to go to the hospital to see a doctor because they feel like they will be labeled. So the anonymity that this brings for them, sort of, it does the work. So once they at least get the first aid information, then they know that, okay, at least now I can go to the hospital and have a one-on-one sit down with the person. But when they just address it as a general issue, there's no face to the problem. So that's so I stumbled into it, and I worked on myself to get better equipped. I'm still working on myself because I'm not a medical doctor. I'm just a health journalist.
That's right. Has it always been broadcast journalism for you, or you've done a bit of print, online, and others in between?
Okay, so basically it's been a lot of broadcast journalism. Yes, I've had to work to do a little bit of online on the side, but not like seriously, maybe just sending one or two reports and that's it. But basically it's been broadcast journalism, specifically TV and radio. That's what I've been doing for a while.
Going forward, would you encourage, let's say, your child or a mentee to take to journalism when they approach you with a subject matter that this is something of interest to me?
I would say have a plan B. I'm serious. I would say have a plan B. Then when you have a plan B, go into the profession and really confirm that this is what you want to do for yourself. Because there are many times that you would go back and encourage yourself that no, this is what I want to do, or probably this is what God has called me to do. I'm going to put in my best. I'm going to, different things will come at you. You have to deal with different things. I remember there was a time in my career that I was told, oh, I don't sound the way they'll expect people to sound on radio, that I wasn't sounding like it. Of course, it affected my esteem. So you have to build yourself, to build your esteem and all of that. But you have to be sure that this is what you want to do. And, when feedback like that comes, you know that, okay, the ones that I need to take, the ones I need to drop, how do I improve myself? The best thing, really, if this is what you want to do, as a career is to ensure that you equip yourself. Really, if you equip yourself, challenges will come. When they come, you can jump and pass and continue to do your work. So that's it.
What would you say is your worst day in the line of duty? WORST, worst. One that you don't want to remember for any reason.
Oh. I think maybe when I think a colleague once, we're having a meeting, we're having a general meeting, and a colleague just looked at me and used the F word at me, and I was just, stunned. And we had other people there. I was just stunned. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to respond. I was just like, what will warrant you saying that kind of thing to me in front of other people? What did I do to serve that? I don't think it's something I want to see again. I don't think it's something I want to see again.
Let me pull the brakes here. Thank you for this exciting conversation. Earlier in the conversation, you indicated you were not sure where I was reaching you from. I am based in Accra, Ghana, just your troublesome neighbor in West Africa. Yeah.
No, we're not going to do the jollof wars today. No,
not at all. Not at all. It will give a different dimension to this conversation.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and great job. Thank you for putting the camera in front of we that always putting the camera in front of other people too.
To be very honest, it is difficult interviewing journalists because they don't like answering questions. That is one thing.
No, we don't. We only like to ask questions. We don't like to answer questions.
Exactly. But I've enjoyed this one. Thank you very much for your time. This has been exciting on PENSDOWN. Truly grateful. We don't take it for granted at all. On this show, what we do is that the things journalists go through in terms of their experience, what the news will never accommodate, that is what we bring to the world. So here, our job is to tell the storyteller's stories. We are reversing we are turning the tables. You see, our job has always been to give a voice to other people. But this platform called PENSDOWN, you will drop your pen here, and then we'll make you the newsmaker.
You become the news.
Exactly. Right. So thank you very much for joining us. Today I've had the company of Damilola Fajinmi. I hope I'm right.
Yes, you are.
Right.
Yes, you are.
Yes. All the way from the country that loves to fight Ghana on everything, from football to jollof to the kitchen to everything. I don't know what their problem is. Nigeria. That is where she joined us from. And it's been an exciting conversation. We've talked her journalism journey. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back again. Another colleague will join us. And then we'll talk also their journalism journeys. Bye for now.
Thank you.